Hello viewers, welcome back to TM2 Linux. In my previous video I have shown how to create a 2-node cluster, and I also showed how to create or configure fencing, and later I had discussed about cluster terminology and some important components. Okay, so in this video I'm going to demonstrate about uh, the command line utility which we have, and also we'll go through Hawk, and through those tools we're going to create a resource. So we have different types of resource in HAE cluster, which is primitive, group, clone, etc., right? So we are going to create those resources through command line and also from Hawk, and I will also create a location collocation for resources. So this is what is location and collocation, that is I have discussed in my previous video, so I don't think I need to explain this, but still if you don't understand what are these things, you can please write your doubts. I will try to get back to you. Okay, so next thing is important cluster files and folders. So what are the important files and folders we have for cluster? We need to know, because when it comes to troubleshooting, if you are not aware of what are the configuration file which is used by cluster, then it will be very difficult for you to troubleshoot. So that is why you should know those files and folder location, where they are, and the content of those configuration files. And next one is the important cluster commands. So mostly when you will be growing and more comfortable in clustering, in HA clustering, you are not going to use graphical tool, I'm sure. So instead you will be going to use more of command line. So when you will be going to use command line, you would need those commands, right, to manage your cluster. So there are many commands we have it, so you don't need to remember all the commands, you just need to remember, or need to know what are the commands is required to manage your clusters, right? So those commands I will show in this video, what are those important commands. And I will also later, what I'll do, I will once I have created this primitives, resource group and clone, I will fail over and fallback those resources, and I will test whether they are functional or not. Okay, so this is the agenda for this video. So let's go with the first one, provisioning shared LAN on VM. So that is already there, I already assigned in VMware, and I also have a separate video how to provision shared LAN in virtual machine, that I have shown you. So I'm not going to show you this one in this video. So the next step is creating a resource using Hawk or command line. Okay, so let me go back and launch the putty session, and here I can see this one. Okay, so this is created. Let me delete this CRM resource. Stop. Let me do this quickly. Group and also clone. Okay, so now one command, the first command is crm_mon. so this command is from where it has come. If you wanted to see and do which crm on, you see this one, right? And if you wanted to do rpm and sq and list, and you wanted to see the file actually. Let me do F. This is providing by the pacemaker CLI RPM. Okay, so and also if you wanted to see what is provided by pacemaker CLI apart from CRM on, so if you wanted to do, then just make the change from list of file and give this pacemaker package name. So you can see this package provide, there are multiple commands. One is civ admin crm diff error. You can also see the fail count, crm on report, crm underscore resource, shadow, simulate, standby, and so on. There are multiple commands. So for now, for example, you wanted to see your, I wanted to I wanted to see this one, crm underscore resource, crm underscore resource n minus l. So what it will do, it will list your resources running on the cluster node. So currently I have only one resource which is created as stoneit, and this resource is started state, and here it is. Okay, and I think I forgot to show you one command in stoneit section, that what are the stoneit device we may use. That command I forgot to show. So it is stoneit minus l. Okay, so if you run this command, you would be able to see what are the available stoneit device we have, which we probably can use based on your environment. If you are using virtual environment, you can use either one of these VMware virtual environment, or if you are using gen based virtualization, you can use this. You can even use IBM HMC, that is nice. And also there are multiple, easy IPMI is widely used, and IBM RSA also you can use, and there are many. So those are the stoneit device. So I was talking about crm underscore mon command. So it is basically gives or list your cluster status, includes everything, right? So when you do a crm underscore mon just r, it is check for the cluster status, and it says it is running 2 node, 1 resource, and both the nodes is online. So it is a very useful command when you using your cluster to check the status, because it gives almost everything for the cluster status. It gives all the outputs. So this is one very important command when you are using cluster. Okay, so let me come to command later. I was supposed to create a resource. So currently I have only one resource, stoneit, right? So I'm going to create a new user, new resource for LVM and file system. So now if I check VGS, okay, ignore that VGS, there is one VG called data VG. Inside this VG I can see there is one LV running, data LV, right? So I wanted to add this LV as a part of cluster resource, and this file system needs to take care by cluster. So I'm going to create a primitive which is HAE terms, I mean we call as primitive in HAE, and other words you can say it is a resource. Okay, so I'm going to create a resource or primitive. So how will I create? So there is a crm shell based commands, right? So if you also wanted to see which provide crm, and that is also you can see which package provides crm. Query file, and this is a package CRMHS which provide the CRM shell. So for command line it is CRM command. So if you run CRM and do just an ls, you can see the options available. So you can use those options. So now I'm going to configure a primitive, right? So I'm going to do a configure, and I want to do use primitive, so I have to say primitive. So now once I say primitive, I have to say what primitive I'm going to use, the resource as in type. So I'm going to use a resource as an OCF. I already told you what are the types of resource agent we have it. OCF, LSB, heartbeat, not heartbeat, Stoneit, and others, right? So those are the resource agent we have available. And the classes, what is the classes? We have heartbeat is the class under OCF, and I'm going to use LVM, but I forgot to give a name, so let me give a name, data LV, or data, okay, let me give data LV. Okay, so data LV, and now I'm going to use a resource agent OCF and heartbeat, and the script is LVM. Okay, so backslash, which is breaking this line, I'm just breaking this line to confuse, to avoid confusion, so it will be clean if I do one by one. So in this line I have specified. Next thing is I have to specify the parameters. So for parameters, params vol grp name, that means the volume group name I have to specify. So I checked here, right? What is the volume group? Volume group is DataVG. So I will give the volume group name here DataVG, and I'm done. So if you wanted to add an additional operation monitoring parameters, you can again backslash here, and then again you can do it, you can continue, but this is enough, I mean, to create to add this volume group in cluster. This two line is enough. So once you've done that, just enter. So now it is created and it is updated in cluster configuration, but it is still not saved. So for saving, I told you last time that we have one command called commit, right? So if I just do a crm underscore on r1, it says started, so it is without committing it is started. I'm not sure why it shouldn't start here. Anyway, so let me say commit and exit. I believe when I close here without the backslash, it is already commit. So that's why when I run commit command, it says no such command. So anyway, so if I do crm underscore mon, and I can see that primitive has been created. So you can do it at once, but I'm doing it one by one because to show you how to create primitives and to avoid confusion. Okay, so crm configure, you can go directly like this, crm configure primitive again, and I'm going to create fs this time. So data fs, this is the name for your primitive, okay, the fs primitive, and resource agent heartbeat is the classes, and I'm going to use file system for this time, right? So file system, and I'll break it here and I'll go to next. Then next section is parameters equal to. Okay, so if you don't remember, for example, you don't know how to set the parameters and what are those, you confuse or you forget every time. So I will show you it is a better way. You can do crm array info or meta, right? Both will do the same thing. OCF heartbeat file system. If you run this command, it will show the list, it will show the options available we have it, and the mandatory of strings we have to use. So here there is a mandatory strings is device, which is in asterisk here, that means it is mandatory option, right? And directory fs type option is optional, and there are operations actions here below. So now params, what are the next mandatory options I showed you here is directory, not directory, it's device. Let me go up, it is device. So I have to specify the device now. Device equal to, I will specify the device. So device is /dev data vg data lv, right? This is a device. And now I will say directory where it is going to mount. Directory is /data, and the other of mandatory option is type, right? Fs type, sorry. So it is fs type equal to, you have to specify which type it is, ext3, ext4 or xfs, whatever you are using. And the last optional option is option, so that you can use either way. I mean, if you wanted to use some options, if you are using Oracle file system that requires some options, so you probably specify based on that. So for now I'm just saying defaults, that's it. Okay, so this is the parameters, and I'll close here and I'll go back, and another line I will provide some monitor operation monitor string. So operation monitor strings is here below. If you go below here, you can see monitor timeout 40-second interval, you can specify those. So I'll specify interval equal to 20-second, and I will specify timeout equal to 40-second, and on fail I will specify, this is one important string we can use in case this file system is failed for some reason. It is managing by cluster, and for some reason this file system is failed, unmounted by users, or someone has mistakenly unmounted the system. The user was unsure that whether this file system is part of cluster or not, and manually unmounted. So in that case, what cluster will do? Will it going to ignore or restart, or there are other options we have? So for now I am going to use, say, ignore. It's okay, I mean, if it is somebody done that, I'll just get a failed action, and it will do nothing, it will not try to restart the file system. Okay, so that should be good, I think. Let me enter, done. So now I can see I just got a bash prompt, and let me go back and crm on -r1 and see the status. This is a failed action, you can ignore it for now. crm resource cleanup. Okay, so here it is. So you can see there are two primitives I have created, one is lv, one is fs. So the resource, first thing is resource part is done. Okay, so now I'm going to create a group, because this LVM and file system require by one set of services. For example, I'm using a web server, and for web servers I need this file system. So I will put them in a group, right? So whenever I will move this resource, or automatically cluster will move the resource, it will move both the resources, because this resource has the interconnection or interlink for the web servers, right? So that's why we create group. So now let me go and create the group. So same thing, crm configure group, and I'll give a group name grp minus data, just to give whatever you would like to give a name. And I have to specify in this group what are the resources. So this is resource name for LV, and this resource name for file system, right? So next thing is I have to specify meta what was it? Okay, so let me go back to this system and try to find out for group option. CRM configure okay, group is there. Okay, group is there. And okay, I just remember it is meta target role. So we wanted to specify the role. So when I save this configuration, I create a group, what is the role is going to be, whether this this group is going to start or stop state. So that role you can specify here, started in double quote. Anyway, if you don't specify, that is also fine, but nice to specify. And also I will mention is managed. Is managed means whether this group is going to manage by cluster. If you wanted to do if you don't wanted to manage this group by cluster, and you wanted to configure or edit further, so you probably say false. But I'm not going to do anything, or I'm not going to change anything, so that's why I'm going to make it as true, which is managed by cluster, and this is true. So this is it for group. Let me enter. Okay, target role does not exist. Do you want to commit? Yes. Let's see what happens. Now if I run this, looks like it is created. So now here you can see resource group, and group name is grp data, which I have given, and inside this the LV and file system is there. So I showed you how to create resource, how to create group. So now next thing is how to create clone. Before that, I wanted to show something in configuration file how it looks like. So now you can see this is the primitive section and this is the group section here which I have created. This is the group name. Under this group, this two is the LV and the string for this group, right? And there is also a other way, like for example now I have shown you like CRM configure, and inside this I have created primitive, right? So you can do the other way around also, like you can directly go CRM configure edit, and if you do that you will have a vim session. Likewise you use vim for editing any files and files, right? So same thing. So you'll see here, and you know how to configure, and you don't have to type everything, just copy the section like this and you can create. I will probably show you this how we have to do this one. Let me VGS data VG, so it is a size of 2 GB and currently this MB is free. So let me create one more LB create minus L, yeah, and 1020 MB new data LV1 data LV data VG. So I've created one more LV. Now if I do LVS, I can see one more LV created, and I'm going to create a directory called data1. It should be on both the node. Let me create here also mkdir data1, and let me create the file system ext3 /dev data vg data lv1. So I'm creating the file system now, and file system is created. Let me clear the screen. Fine. So now I'm going to add this LV into cluster, right? So now if I do crm underscore mon r1, and if you just wanted to see the resource, then crm underscore resource minus L is the command. Here you will only see the resource status, and in this command you will see everything for whole cluster status. So the other command what I told you, crm configure edit, enter, and I know how to create that, right? So I just copy this line and let me come back here and paste it, and instead of data fs, I give this name as data1 fs, and LV name is data1, and it will going to mount in data1, and operation parameters are same. And I'm also going to copy this LVM. The LV it's not required because this LVM is part of data VG only, so I'm not going to use an additional VG. So file system is given, LVM is under this one, that's it. And what else required? Nothing. So let me save it. Okay, before saving I will add this in the same group here. So now inside this group we have two fs, data fs, and other one is data 1 minus FS, right? This is a volume group name which we have given here, data LV, and under this there are two file systems. So this is it. Let me save it. Ignore this. Yeah. Now if I do crm underscore mon and see, I have to clean this. crm resource cleanup and run this command again. I can see in this group there are 3 resources. One is this for group and other 2 are file system. So likewise you can create 2 ways. I mean, crm configure, and inside that you can create, and also you can do a crm configure edit, right? So this is resource and group which we have created. Now let me create a clone. So clone, I told you earlier that what is the use of clone, that if you wanted to provide a simultaneous services, then we have to create clone, and that should run on multiple nodes. So now I'm going to create a clone. So for clone I will use Hawk. I will show you through Hawk how to create clone. Okay, so this is a Hawk section, and now you have to go to this setup wizard, and in this cluster setup wizard I'm going to use cluster aware LVM next, and it is saying cluster aware LVM, and cluster group is this one. I'm going to say next, and it is saying these are the primitives going to create for this clone. We need one DLM primitives, and we also need one CLVMD primitives. So this is it is creating these 2 primitive, and after that it is creating a group name is a group CLVM and minus VG, and inside these 2 DLM and CLVM primitive or resource are running, right? And now it is going to create a clone, and clone name is C minus CLVM VG, and group name is this one, and it is going to manage by cluster order equal to true. So this is what it is saying. This will going to write in your cluster configuration. I'll say next, and it says cluster LVM is done, the configure has been applied. So done. It is trying to create here. It is still showing pending status. Now it is good. It's started, and if you wanted to see all the status here in details, you can see the status. And now if you go to this resource section, and here you can see clone is created, and if you wanted to edit and or wanted to see the settings, you can see here inside this is a clone, child resource is this group, and the other options is available, right? So this is how you have to create your clone from Hawk. And from command line, same thing which I have shown you. Let me just show you the status first. Here the status for clone, this is created, CLVMD and DLM is running, started on both node. That means it is running on both the node, and it will provide simultaneous service. So I'm not sure whether you are aware of CLVMD, what it does and what is DLM. Anyway, don't need to worry about what is those DLM and CLVMD. I will going to have a separate video for configuring CLVM, DLM with LVM, and also I will show you how to use uh, volume group host tag. Okay, there are two types we can use. So for that I will be having a different session and I will explain in details how to use them. So for now I just showed you how to create a clone. If you wanted to create in command line, the same you may need to do crm configure, and inside this you would be able to see clone somewhere. So here it is. So same thing you can create, or all if you wanted to use directly, if you want to edit this file directly and you are confident enough, you can just go here and update these settings for primitives which I have added here from Hawk. For DLM, here it is, group and clone is created, right? So this is what the clone about. This is how you have to create clone. Okay, so next what it is, let me see. Important question for this. Okay, so next is create location and collocation for resources. Let me discuss that. Fine. So crm underscore mon minus r1. Now you see Stonet is running on 1 and this group is running on node 1 and clone is running on both the nodes. So what I'll do, let me first stop the service resource group for everything first. Stop. Let me stop this. And let me stop this group and also stun it. Everything I'm stopping. Now if I see the status, everything is stopped state. So now if I wanted to, okay, so what I will do, rc open is stop. Let me stop the cluster service. Okay, so cluster service is stopped. Now if I do status, it says stop, and now I'm going to start the cluster service. There is a reason behind this stopping and starting. I will tell you why. Okay, so Stonet is stop. Let me start Stonet. Let me start this group and also CLVMD group. And now if I run this, I can see, wait a second, it is a bit slow. Okay, something is not good and I believe the system going to reboot. Okay. crm and let's come on R. It says offline node 1 unclean and trying to start it because the node 1 is rebooted, that's why. And it is trying to start, the system is coming up. Okay, the fencing, what it does, the fencing device fence the node 1, it seems. That's why it is rebooted. And now currently I'm waiting to back online node 1, so it's taking a little time, not sure why. Okay, fine. So now both nodes are online and all the resources are started. Fine. So now if I just reset the session and log in one more time. Fine. So okay, so everything is started, and CRM configure show. Okay, so let me stop that one more time, because the one which I was supposed to show you, that did not work because of the system fenced and reviewed. So now I'm going to again start it. CRM resource start on it. Usually I shouldn't play with stone it, because it does fence. That's why. So, okay, but so when I stop running it, not to went offline, so there is a problem. Now I think I again have to wait for the other node come up. So anyway, I would be able to, I think, show you once this node is up. Ping node 2. Okay, looks like IP is up, but cluster service is still not started. So it is saying pending. Now I think it is up. Okay, great. So it is up. Now let me start the service. First run it here and resource start, and hopefully this time it will not fence. And let's see, it is started. Fine. So when I start this fence, it has started in node 1 default, right? I did not say start this Tony device and show in node 1, but it is default started in node 1. And now let me start the other resource group. Resource start. Okay, and let's see where it has started. It has started in node. Why? Because like I said, when you are using earlier, I showed you and I discussed the strategy balance when using two node cluster. Why we have specify balance here. Let me show you the file here, CRM configure show, and inside this you can see placement strategy equal to balance. So you got it now, why it is started in node 1 and why this resource group started in node 2. So default it will balance. I mean, for example, if you are running 4 resource group and you have not specify whether this resource group has to be run on this node until unless you have specified, cluster will try to balance that, and it will try to run one node in one resource in one node, and another resource is in another node. So this is why we specify balance in cluster configuration here. Okay, so there is one region. So now to avoid, and the other thing is, now I don't want this group to start in node to default when I start. So for example, if I stop this service crm configure crm resource, sorry, and the resource group, I just stopped it. Okay, so now I don't want this resource group to start default in node 2 when I start it. I want this to be run on node 1, right? So now how will we ensure that one? So for that we have something called location. So we can specify the location for resource that you have to run on node 1 instead node 2. So I will show you that one from Hawk. So if I go to this last icon for constraint and go to location, and I will specify the location. Click on this plus button and give a location something, just give a name, some name which you wanted to specify. GRP data location, something like that, whatever you wanted to give a name, and specify the location here. This group I wanted to run there, right? And so role here, I think this one is not required, and specify which node you wanted to specify. And score is nothing but, I discussed earlier, default is 0 and more than 0, and what is infinity and minus infinity, those are the roles. So more than 0 I have to specify, whether you can use 1, 10, 100, 1000, whatever, or 550. So I'm going to give a score 100, just a name, right? And started, the role you have to specify whether it should start or not, and node 1 string is not required, and just create constraint. So it should create the constraint, and default it should start on node 1. Okay, so it is taking a little time. Okay, so it is taking a little time, I'm not sure why. Let's see the status here. It is still stop state, and let's see the file. Yeah, it is trying to create the location, so that means it should give me a prompt here. Okay, so something did not go well. The page where looking does not exceed. Go back. Okay, so I think that did not work. Let me try this one more time. Constraint ID, oh sorry, I think the constraint ID is something I have to give. 1000 group score is 1 not 1. Now location grp. Okay, so actually I was not much familiar this hawk how to create, so I was using for the first time, so that's why I was a bit confused. So looks like it has created now. Anyway, so I given a score more than 1, it is more than 0, it is 1. And let me go back to this system. Okay, so and also I wanted to see the configuration file whether it has this one as well, but I think that is not required. CRM configure that was created the first time when it got failed, so this one not required. I will delete this, and the one which I have created now is this one. So I've given a name this one for this location group data. This group should run on node 1. Save. Now it is still stop state, and let me start it. So if I start, it should start on node 1. Let's see. So here it is. See, it is started in node 1 instead node 2. It should balance and it should start in node 2, right? But it is started in node 1, right? So this is how we can create a location, basic example which I have shown you. And now I will show you the collocation. So collocation is nothing but a relation. So collocation. Okay, so relation is when I move this resource group from node 1 to node 2 manually, or once this is system down or something happen, when this resource group move, I wanted to move this resource group along with this, because just assume this two resource group has the interconnection or interrelationship, right? So you want both these to be moved in the same time because they have the relationship. So that is what the collocation is. So to create that, go to collocation, add, click on this plus mark and give some name, collocation data. Give some score, just 500, more than, I mean anything you can use. So first is which is going to move, I mean which is going to act as a primary. So whether you're store it, when you move, then it should move resource group also, the master and the child or slave one. So if you are using grp data is a master, then you have to use first this one, and then slave is stored underscore sbd. It is similar like in Redhat, the child process and a child resource and master resource, right? So same thing. So I'm going to use this one first, add, and now I'm going to say as master, and I'm going to use stone it, right? So this is slave add, and I'm going to 1 minute. Okay, so here it is. So now it is I think, yeah, so like this, and this one I have to select slave. So now first this one is a master, it will act as a master, and stone it will act as a slave. So I have created a collocation for this two resource group, and this resource group, and this is the resource. And likewise you can add more if you have more resources which has the interrelationship. Okay, let me create constraint now. Let's see what happens. And it says constraint created successfully. Great. So let me go back to the partition and see whether that happens or not. So now I specify this as a master, right? So let me crm resource move resource group node 2. So I'm going to move this resource group in node 2. So when I do that, it should move this resource as well along with this one, because we have specified the collocation. So now I have successfully run that command for moving, and let me see the status now. Okay, something is not good. It has moved, but this is still not one, but it is supposed to move. So let me go back and see the configuration file. Collocation master is this, and this slave is this, but it is not happening for some reason. Okay, let me try this in other way and see whether that works or not, but I'm thinking why this is not working. Okay, let me see the location again. grp 1 infinity has created, so let me clear that infinity, minus clear, minus resource. Okay, oh great, so that was the problem. So earlier, where's that file? Okay, I did not specify it seems. So there was a minus infinity for this group, that is why it was not moved to that node when I checked here. So now that is cleared and now it is moved. So what I have to check now both are running in node 2, and now I will going to move back to node 1 and see whether that works or not. Resource move to node 1. So now I'm moving back to node 1, then this torrent also should move back to node 1. So let's see. Let me clear the screen and check the status. That is bad. So why it is not moving, and every time I run this crm configure show, there is an infinity. Every time when I run this, there is an infinity creating. Because of that, it is not moving. Until and unless I clear this infinity, it will not move. So that shouldn't happen anyway, but I don't know why it is happening for now. So what I have to do is, in order to avoid, or in order to like when I'm doing a resource move, it is not moving, right? So I have to clear this infinity. So here is the infinity created, that's why it is not happening. So crm underscore resource, I think I ran this command already, crm underscore resource. Okay, so now if I see, it would have moved to node 1 everything again. Okay, instead of move command, let me try migrate and see if that helps. CRM resource migrate this. Okay, so it is node 1, so it should move to node 2, and it has moved, but it has created a minus infinity again. This doesn't look good. Let me node 1 enter. So this time it has not created. Okay, so it is still not working. Let me change the collocation. CRM configure edit, and I will give this group as a slave and stone it I will give as a master, and let's see if that helps. And also clear this minus infinity. Now everything is 1, and now let me try the other way. So I have specified this stone it as a master now, and this is slave. So if I move this, it should also move this group. So CRM resource move stone it to node 2, and let's see if that helps. No, something is not good. Looks like I'm missing something here in collocation. Okay, let me pause this video for some time and let me come back again and see why this is not working, just for 5 minutes. Okay, I think, yeah, I figured that out, why that resource collocation was not happening, and when I try to move the resource, why the relationship is not working. For example, I try to move this resource group, and it should also move when I move this resource group. Store it resource also should move along with this, but it is not happening, right? And CRM configure show this location which I have created, that one I just removed, and I'm going to do it again from the beginning. So I'll go back to hog and go to sticky resource constraint here in this tab, and in location now I will create the location in a different way, like data location, and I will specify the location data and stone it. So we can specify multiple location, selecting like this. Okay, and specify the score. So I specify the score is 500. As I said, you can specify 100. Okay, let me specify 100, and I want to run this on node 1. So let me create that, and it is created. So now stone it and data group, by default it should run on node 1. It was earlier it was running on node 2. So Okay, so it is still running on node 2. What I have to do is I have to stop it. Before that, let me check one thing, because okay, so it is created node 1 location. Okay, let me, because if I try to stop this tornado again, it will probably fence the system. So let me stop this resource group and stop and start and see what happens. Now it is started in 1 as it is supposed to be, and for Stoneit, let me try anyway. If it is reboot, let it fine, but it is default. When we start this, it should start defaulting node 1. Okay, so now let's see. Okay, fine. So now the location is anyway, it's working default. Whenever we are starting, it is starting in node 1 as per the location specified in configuration file. So problem is in collocation. So collocation is not working. Let me go back, and why it was not working I came to know, and let me do that now. So click on add, and collocation I will add. For example, we are using this file system everything for web server, so I'll just give web collocation, and score I will give 1000. Okay, so here data grp, and I will add Stoneit add. So these two are added, and now I will add master, and SBD is slab. So if I move data group, it should also move along with Stoneit. Okay, so let's create the collocation. Created. So let me go back and see crm configure show, and here I can see location is there and collocation is created, master is data group, and this one, but it is not working. Why it is not working? Because of resource stickiness. So what I have to do here, resource stickiness I have specified 1000. That's why when I moved a resource group, data group, it is moving, but it is not moving the other group along with that, because I have specified a higher value than 1. That's why it is taking an infinity. Likewise, we have discussed in the session last video which I have uploaded. There I have discussed about the constraint. Okay, so if you go through that video, you will have a little idea. Okay, so why it is not working, because we have specified 1000. And for now, what I'm going to do, I'm just specifying the resource stickiness more than 0. So it is 1, so I just specify more than 0, 1, right? So now if I save this and try to move, it should move Stoneit as well when I move this resource group. Let's try to do that. crm resource move node 2. So currently it is running on node 1, both of them. So I'm trying to move it on node 2. Okay, fine. So now I think it is working. See, earlier it was working in node 1 and now it has started in node 2, right? So that was the problem, and because of the stickiness we have specified more than 100, more than 1, it was not allowing to move the other resource as well. So once I make this as 1, it is allowing. So that was a problem. So you can specify multiple resource, and that should move along with one resource when you try to move, and if you have specified the collocation. So for now I have specified only these two, one store need and this data group, and now I'm going to add an additional resource group. So I have created an additional resource group. I have created an additional VG named test VG. Okay, and also there is one LV. You can see I have already created under this test VG. If I do LVS test VG, I can see the test VG here. So now I have to add this test VG inside cluster, so that cluster can take care of it. Okay, so let me do it in this way. It is pretty quick. If you go, you just have to copy paste some line and edit it. So that's why I'm going to do like this. I'm just copy this file system line and going to paste it here, and instead of data fs I will say test fs, and VG name is test VG, and LV name is test LV, and directly what I have created is called test. So that is what it is, and now I have to specify the volume, right? So volume group information, so I will say here test LV, and volume group name is test VG. So test VG, and rest everything looks to be fine. And here in below I have to create a group. So I already have a group for data group, so I will copy the same thing here and edit that to test group. So test group, and here I also have to edit this to test LV, and only one FS, test FS1. Let me, okay, so it is test FS, and it is going to manage my cluster. Let me remove this line. Okay, so fine. So now I have created sorry, I have created an additional file system, and I have added them in this group. So group name is test minus group, and this is the LV, this is the file system, right? Let me save it. Fine. So now if I see crm underscore mon r1, alright, so we can see there is an additional group has been created, right? So now what I'm going to do, yeah, so now I just, let me, default it is started on node 1 because I have not specified the location for this group. So let me go back again here, and in location I will specify let me remove this line, and here I will specify the location for this test group. Sorry, so open escape view. Okay, here space, so default location is node 1 for this group as well. Now the collocation master remains should be data group, and slave is this one. I will create an additional line for test VG space, and I will edit this as test minus grp. Okay, so now collocation is for three different types of group and primitive. So master is data group, and Stoneit and test VG is slave. Fine, so now let me save this. Okay, and I can see everything is running one as per the location. It has started in node 1. So now I will move this data group, and when I move this data group to node 2, it should also move test group, also move Stoneit to node 2. And let me do that. LVM resource move data group node 2. Okay, so let me clear the screen and let's see whether that works or not. Great, so it is working. So now see, everything is running on node 2, right? So that was it for the resource collocation, and I also created location, and I showed you from Hawk and also command line. So next is, let me go back to agenda. This one is done. Now is important cluster files and folders. Okay, so now important files and folders, let me show you the first one, /etc sysync enter. And if you go inside this location, you can see there are some files under this sysync to cfg rpm same key HA group, and also some certificate files for sysync, right? So now what are these files for? So these files and this location is basically for the cluster synchronization. So when we do any sort of editing in cluster, and once we do it, basically we do it on the DC node, it is always recommended to make all the changes in DC node. So currently it is node 1 is a DC. So if you made a change in your cluster, and it will take care of the changes updates in the other node as well in the cluster. So in our case only there are 2 nodes, so if I made a change in node 1, something in a cluster, it will ensure that the changes has been populated in node 2 as well, and the files, right? So how it has done, so this is the location, and also what are the files we should sync, that you can specify in this file. Okay, so if you just get this file, and you can see in this file there is host entry. If you have multiple node 1, node 2, node 3 or more, it will show here, and also it will show include which are the files it is going to sync. So including this file, or key, say sync file itself, and other important files, multipart, LVM, and other stuff, Samba, right, OpenIS and pacemaker. So those are the important files, and files location where there are some important configurations are resides with regards to cluster. So out of them, one is corosync. It is an important file. Okay, so now for example, you have made a change in let me take this corosync file. Okay, so corosync file is a very important file which has the cluster wide configuration, and it has entry like this. I'll show you. Okay, so this is the file. Here you can see in services section, here you'll see the service name pacemaker, which takes care load the pacemaker cluster, resource manager, pacemaker does this job, and which management it is using, and the totem protocol it is using to communicate each node in the clusters, and the default timeout is 500 millisecond, and if node is not joined in 60 millisecond, then the cluster will declare the node as dead, and the next section is whatever the fencing you have specified will do. And the other options we have it cluster wide options. This is a totem section, and if you go below, let me do it in another way because there are many heads the line. Let me filter them. Okay, so those are the sections which is available: services, totem, okay, and interface, the ring. So this is the IP range which we are using to communicate the servers. This is the IP range, and this is the multicast IP, and this is the port which initially we had configured the cluster. It asked for the port and bind IP address, right? So those are populated here in this file, and also there is a login section. So if you wanted to default, it writes in var log messages. If you wanted to specify a different location and a dedicated location, you can specify that. So for example, here it is one there is one example. It's given log file equal to var log cluster dot corosync dot log. So if you enable this, it will write all the log regarding corosync. We're going to write in this file. So this is one important file. Okay, so this is one thing, and okay, and also there is other important file is /etc okay, it is user leave OCF set this resource D, and inside this resource D location you will see heartbeat, the class which we use, and LVM2, OCF2, and pacemaker. Those are the classes we have it, and inside that if you go for example, I wanted to see the files and folders. Inside the location, these are the files. These are all scripted shell script files. And also if you wanted to check the pacemaker, here also you can see the pacemaker related files are available. So this is one important location, and the other location is always to check sorry, it is directory. Check this file always and you will see what are those files. So yeah, this auth key is an important file, and key underscore group, and also this file L directory and LVM multipath or whatever it is. So let me see whether, I think it is not there because I have not configured multipath, so multipath is not there. So what I will do, just to show you one thing, let me change this crossing file vi. This join, instead of 60 I'll make this 120. Okay, and now I made this change to not to, and I wanted to sync that to other node as well, right? So how will I do that manually? So it's a command called csync -xv. So default it will check all the files which is available in this file, and you can also specify a file called like this, let's say f and sync like this. If you just wanted to sync this file, because you know you have made only these changes in this file, so you can specify like this. And if you don't want to do, and you want to also, maybe someone has changed some settings on other files and you wanted to sync everything, so for that you have to specify like this, right? So once you run this command, it will say making file is dirty. That means this file is not equivalent to the other node have. So in other node 1, this corosync file and the entry for node join is 60 seconds. So I have just changed it to 160 millisecond. So it was not updated in other file, other node, right? So that's why it says when trying to check with the other node and updating this file on node 1 and finishing with 0 error. That means what are the changes I have done in node 2, it is also populated in node 1 now. So now if I go to node 1 and check the file and grab it for join, it should show 120 seconds. So it is saying 120 milliseconds, sorry. So this is how you can sync your cluster through this csync command, right? And the important files which you need to know. Okay, so apart from that, let me remind what you have. I think that is it. Those are the most important files you need to be aware of, and important cluster commands and failover, fallback resources. So what are the important cluster commands which you would need in your day-to-day activity to manage your cluster? Okay, so first thing is CRM. If you go to CRM, you'll see the commands here available. CRM show, it is status, right? So it is very user friendly. You don't need to scratch your mind every time what is the command was. You just have to go CRM and check for options. What are the options available? It also work ls, and probably corosync and ls. Now I wanted to check the status. Now you can see the ring status. This is the IP ring 0 active with no false, right? And quorum status, and like this other command ls. You wanted to add an additional node, add node, give the node name, delete node, other command in corosing, if you wanted to come out the same bash command, it works here. cd minus dot dot, it comes one step back, and you can see. So here array one command is there, and you wanted to see what are the resource agents are available. So if you go inside array and sorry, do a list, you can see here there is a command called list. Okay, so for list you have to specify the array name. So what array you wanted to see? For example, I wanted to see OCF array, so I have to do list OCF. So if I do this, I would be able to see what are the array inside this file available. And if you wanted to see more about them, you can see like this: info OCF and LVM. So I wanted to see how I have to use LVM. I wanted to see the strings of LVM, because initially in the beginning, when you will be new and you wanted to create LVM and create file system, and you don't know the strings in command line, so this will help you. So always you can go like this and check what are the strings available and what are the mandatory strings. So here where you will see strings, those are mandatory strings. Vol group name, you can specify volume group name, and exclusive it is optional. Okay, so it basically used for the tagging purpose, where I will show you on the host tag how we have to use later. And the other default operation options we have here: timeout section, interval section, and etc. So this is how we can see. And if you wanted to see in one single command, instead of going inside the location, you can see crm array, info, or meta, both works. So I'll do meta here for now, and OCF I will do heartbeat, and I will do LVM, same information. So you don't need to go inside the location and run those commands. That is easy. I mean, in one line you can get the output. Okay, so apart from that, in day-to-day activity, you would need to fallback your system. So for that we have two commands: crm resource move. Okay, one is this, and another one is crm resource migrate. So both works. Whenever you are trying to fallback any resource or resource group, you can use either one of it. But ensure when you use move, you have specified the resource group. For example, data group, crm resource move, resource group name, and the node name. So now currently it is running node 2, and I'll give node 1. So in case if you do not specify node name and enter it, it will move your resource, but it will going to create a minus infinity. So unless you will clear that minus infinity, this resource group will not move back again to node 2. So if you try to move it, it will not going to move, and it will simply stuck in node 1 itself. So that's why, to avoid that, always use node name after the move. Okay, and also for migrate, for example, migrate, and I wanted to migrate this. Let me show you because I haven't shown this migrate command to you, so let me do that. So I'm just migrating data group to node 1. Okay, let's see, and let's okay, so now we can see that everything moved to node 1 as per that collocation which we have specified, right? So now what I did, migrate data group and the node name, right? So to move back this resource group in node 2, what you have to do, you have to do unmigrate and this one resource group name. So if you do this, it will move back your resource back into node 2. So it is a little different way, so but it is same, it does the same thing. So which one you feel more handy, I mean you can use it. So see, now it moved back to node 1 or not. Let me, earlier where it was, CRM resource migrate to node 1. Okay, unmigrate, it should have migrate to node 2, but it did not migrate, so probably because of the resource constraint minus infinity. Okay, let me see. Okay, so I don't see this resource constraint here, but for some reason it is not moving back. Okay, let me try this one again. Minus clear. So this command is a very useful command to create your to clear your minus infinity. So in case if there is a minus infinity, it will clear it. Okay, so migrate command is not working for some reason. If I specify node 2, let's see what happens. For some reason unmigrate command is not working. Anyway, we have other option called move, right? So that is why I don't prefer to use migrate command. I always use move. So it should have worked, but probably some reason it is not working. Anyway, so that is one option that we have it, you can use. So let me now try move command and see whether this cause any issues. Node 2, everything went to node 2 and move back to 1, and let's see whether it is coming or not. Everything will move back to node 1. So move command is better, so we can always use move. Okay, so that is one important command. And apart from that, your system configuration. So how do you see? You might have seen this command many times. I'm running in past 1 hour. CRM configure show. So this command will show you the configuration which you have in your cluster, the configuration what you have made it, you can see it here, right? So this is the command, and also the metadata stores in XML format. like I have decided earlier that there is something called CIB, cluster information base, and cluster information base. So this is the metadata for all your cluster configuration where everything is saved. So how will you see that? CIB admin minus q. So I'm just querying it. If you wanted to see more options, just do help manage it. Okay, and minus q is the flag which provide us a query output. So here you can see the metadata for that CIV. So it is a little difficult to read and understand in the beginning when you are new to HA cluster. So here you can see, and you can double check with your node whether it is all sync with other node as well. Also now it is 229 files. Let me run the same command in other node and see 229. So it is synced, so it is good, so we don't have to worry about. Okay, that is one command. And also crm configure so xml, if you do, it is also give you the same output, right? Like this you can also see your xml output. So that is one another command. And you probably need to whenever you do any changes in cluster, to ensure that if something goes wrong, okay, you have a backup, right? So you probably need to ensure that you have a backup. So always take your backup in some location before you do any changes. For example, like this crm configure show, and some location in under tmp which I preferred. So crm configure output or whatever it is. Okay, so now if I check this location, I have this file, and if I more this file, I can able to see the content. So I have this backup. So like that, you can also take the XML backups. CRM configure CRM X. Okay, CRM configure save command is there. Okay, save. Okay, save command is there. So crm configure save any name civ, but should be in xml, right? Save. So now I have one file called xml. So I have the xml backup now. So if I more it, wow, this is not the right one. What is wrong? This one I took it earlier, and here it is correct, but here it is not giving about the XML format. Okay, so let me see what it is. Not this file, I have it somewhere. Okay, anyway, I will probably discuss that in my next video, and I will tell you how to save your XML file. Okay, or probably what you can do, cib admin minus q and redirect that file to some location like cib pre checks.xml in temp. Let's see. And now I have this file. Let me mod it. Okay, fine, that's it. So like this also you can use. I'm not sure what is wrong with this command because I tried this earlier and it was working. But anyway, so like this you can take the backup for your XML file. And what are the other important command? Okay, so one important command is property. Here I'll show you what is it. Okay, so now crm mon -r1 and this resource group you wanted to do some modification, and to avoid data inconsistency or to do anything abnormal, if you do online changes it may corrupt your data and it may reboot your system. So always when you do any changes we put the cluster or the resource group in unmanaged state. Unmanaged state means a maintenance mode. Okay, so specific to resource group we can do, and we can do cluster wide as well. So for specific to resource, crm configure manage resource group name. Configure manage crm resource, I believe. Okay, so now if I do mon, sorry, it is already managed mode, so I have to do unmanaged. Okay, so now if I check this, it says unmanaged. So this two file system which is currently in node 1 for data 1 and data is not part of cluster now. So if I unmount also, nothing will going to happen. Umount, and if I check the cluster status, it is still saying unmanaged and it didn't throw any error here because I put this as unmanaged state, so it is not managing by cluster now. And let me move back to manage mode. So let's see, you will see one failed action after that. So let me make it manage. So when I did a manage, it says failed ignore, and it is unable to see this file system. And if I do a dff and h, I see that data 1 is not there, right? So why it is ignore? Because crm configure show data fs, I said on fail, if this file system is failed, what it will do? Ignore. Instead, if I would have mentioned this restart or start, instead ignore, when it will see that file system is not mounted and unmounted manually by some users, what cluster would supposed to do? It was supposed to restart this file system, and again it would show as started, and here no failure. So because of the ignore, it did not started. So for now what I have to do to make this available, I will do crm resource cleanup. So cleanup is one important command when you have some resource is in failed state, and sometimes it is not started and you wanted to clean that. For this scenario, you can say that I have unmounted the file system manually and you wanted to make that file system available in cluster again. So cleanup is a very useful command in that situation. So if you do a cleanup and the resource name, what it will do, it will again go back and check for the file here. Let me go back to this server, crm configure show. So it will go for this file again and it will check the entry for data.fs, right? In data.fs it will say here, where's the data.fs, that is the one. So it will say it is, this is the LVM and this is the mount point supposed to be mount, and currently it says failed, it is not mounted. And what it will do, it will try to mount it again. See, it is cleaning up, it is checking in node 1, it is also checking in node 2, it is not mounted, and later it mounted and it says now it is fine. Okay, so now if I say dffnh, and I can see that data 1 is back again. And again if I do crm1 underscore r1, I can see this file system is back and there is no failure action, right? So this is what the cleanup and manage unmanaged stuff, and that was for just a resource group which I made that unmanaged. And in case of any maintenance you are going to do, so now I'm going to do a cluster wide change, not only for this resource group, but I wanted to do for all this resource group which is running on this cluster, everything. So I wanted to put whole cluster in maintenance mode. So what I have to do for that, crm configure, if you go inside this location you will see something called property, and you can also see maintenance mode. Okay, so if I do true, that means it will make this cluster in maintenance mode. Done. Exit. Pending change, yes, I wanted to commit because I did not commit, that's why it is asking. Fine, so now I have committed, and now if I see the status, it will say unmanaged, everything, the whole cluster goes in unmanaged state. So that is one important command. You can also run in one command itself instead of going in crm shell. You can just run like this, crm configure property maintenance mode equal to false. Now I can see everything come back and it is part of cluster. So this is again an important command which will going to need in your day-to-day activity when you do maintenance for those clusters. Okay, so what else? Okay, so there are many commands, you don't have to worry. I mean, you just have to go crm and just do your discovery inside this, whatever you want to do, see everything inside this location only, right? So configure, you can see this option regarding CIB status. If you wanted to see show, I think show command is available. You can see CIB information like this as well, and other stuff, anything. You wanted to see collocation information, clone information, you can see. Right, so these are the basic and most important commands you will need. So I think I have covered almost everything, and I also showed failover fallback, how to do a failover fallback for resource group. I have shown the command crm resource move and crm resource migrate command, through that you can do. And I also showed you some important cluster wide command, and there is also one command I would like to show you that is important, corosync. If you do a corosync tab, you will see there are some commands here, and out of that there is one command called cfg tool -s. If you do this, you can also do go inside crm configure and you can run that, but this is one simple command from bash prompt you can run, and you can see the ring whether it is active and it is connecting to other node. So currently I have only one interface running only one IP, that's why I have only one ring. If you are using a different data link data for your application to login, if you are using a different IP range, you would see one more ring here. If you are using a backup and dedicated LAN, you would be able to see a different ring 2, probably ring 0, ring 1, ring 2. So those you would be able to see here. So whenever you have any issues in your cluster and it is unable to communicate, this is the first thing you have to check whether rings are properly showing here without any fault. So here it is saying ring 0 active with no fault. Okay, so those are the basic and important commands. I will probably go through a troubleshooting video later, and I will try to cover what are the important commands and what are the important pre-checks or required settings you need to do to avoid issues in your cluster, and whenever you have issues in cluster, how to troubleshoot it, what are the most important logs files, and how you have to configure your logs. Those probably I'm going to have a different video. Okay, so for now I think this is it. I have updated whatever I have updated here. I have covered almost everything, and I hope it will going to help you. Okay, so just try to do your configuration. What are the configuration I have done today? Just check and try to configure in your system, and let me know if you have any query or doubts, and if you are having any difficulty to configure them, and anything you don't have understand, please try to write them in YouTube comment section. I will try to get back to you. Okay, so thank you so much for watching this video. Have a good day.